Good evening and welcome to the Monday, September 27th, 2021 school board meeting for the Mill Creek Township School District Board of Directors. We are meeting this evening at the Mill Creek Education Center. We welcome the public that has joined us this evening in person or on Zoom. And as a reminder for those who are not able to, we would want them to let them know that this meeting will be streaming live on YouTube, and this meeting will also be recorded for future viewing purposes. You can also view this meeting's agenda as well as past meeting minutes, in addition to several informational items on our website, www.mtsd.org. Finally, please visit us and like us on our Facebook page, Mill Creek Township School District, which has new posts added on a regular ongoing basis. I would also like to remind all speakers, core team members, and board members, because of their masks, to speak clearly and distinctly into their microphone so you can be heard by all the attendees this evening, whether they are here in person or viewing us on Zoom or YouTube. Thank you. The roll call, Mr. Porter.
Mr. Busco. I think Mr. Busco is absent this evening. Ms. Capabianca? Here. Mr. Dean?
Here.
Mr. DePlacido?
Here.
Dr. Lansbury?
Here.
Mr. Lindner?
Here.
Ms. McClintock?
Here.
Mr. Winchell?
Here.
Mrs. Winchell?
Here.
Dr. Roberts?
Here.
And Attorney Herzing?
Here.
Thank you. 1.02, executive session announcement. An executive session was held September the 27th for the purpose of personnel, safety, and the Eliota-Kabelka litigation against Mill Creek Township School District. Subject 1.03, approval of the agenda. May I have a motion for the approval of the agenda?
I'll make a motion.
Do you have a second?
Second, John.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against, nay. Hearing none, motion passes. 1.04, Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Minutes, M2, 2.01, school board minutes, school board retreat workshop minutes of August the 16th, 2021. 2.02, school board meeting minutes of August the 23rd, 2021. 2.03, committee of the whole minutes, September 13th, 2021. Put 2.01, 2.02, 2.03. Can I have a motion for that, please?
Motion, Janine.
Second, Dean.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against, nay. Motion passes. 3.01, visitors.
Okay, first, this evening, we have Chris Huber on behalf of the Mill Creek Education Foundation. Chris, you can go ahead, Chris. 5 minutes.
Thanks, Linda. Good evening. Hello, I'm Chris Huber, Executive Director of the Mill Creek Education Foundation. I appreciate the opportunity to speak this evening to talk about some of the recent highlights of MEF's support of Mill Creek students. I'm excited to share the news with you that the annual Schoolhouse Craft Festival will now be coordinated through the Mill Creek Education Foundation. Asbury Woods has graciously offered to partner with us during this transition, and we look forward to continuing this annual holiday tradition to support local businesses and provide a great shopping experience for the community. The event is a wonderful collaborative with local artisans and several MTSD booster groups and clubs. Our hope is to return the event to in-person at Mcdowell Intermediate in December of 2022. For now, we're working with Mcdowell students to set up an online marketplace to support the crafters this year. It will run from November 26th through December 10th through the MEF website. In 2020, we introduced our MEF Bright Spots to invite MTSD staff to recognize colleagues that provided support when the school year began. This year, we did it again with a small change to extend it through the school year. We sought out the brightest examples throughout the school district through a social media push and received dozens of nominations. The following are recognized as MEF Bright Spots: Ashley Samlick, Adam Marshall, Rita Roberts, Jess Alesso, Nick Emanuel, Sherry Schaefer. Here's just a small sampling of what we learned about the recipients. She's energetic and brings life to the classroom. I've not seen so much class participation in my 6 years of teaching. She truly shines. He always goes above and beyond for his colleagues and students. So proud to work with him. She spends countless hours with her amazing tech and creative skills to craft activities for our students. Her attention to detail and love for knowing pop culture of middle schoolers make her an inspiring, credible, fun, and approachable adult. She's always so positive and we have great laughs. He's always a bright spot for our department. His thoughtfulness, energy, and commitment to his craft are admirable to say the least. He goes out of his way to support our department with whatever we need, including chocolate. We're so lucky to have him. She's always willing to inspire, share an idea, or just listen to help solve a problem. They each held the title of Bright Spot for a week and were asked to help identify others that help brighten the day and lighten the load for someone else. They have a small sign with instructions for the next person to do the same. This week, we are celebrating the people supporting our favorite students. The MEF Bright Spots are Lisa Shalatz, Kelly Baresic, Jonathan Kern, and Pam Swanson. We're honored to help keep this little light spreading through the MTSD buildings. The Mcdowell class of 1976 recently gathered to celebrate their 45th reunion and have decided to establish the Spirit of 76 Memorial Scholarship Fund for Mcdowell graduates. We'll provide more details soon. As with any MA scholarship or fund, gifts are always welcome to support Mill Creek students. Our Inspiration for Instruction grant application deadline was extended to this Thursday. Any MTSD teachers in pre-K through grade 12 that are new to the profession may apply to receive funding to set up their first ever classroom. The link to the application is on our website, millcreekeducationfoundation.org, in the What We Support tab. Our next round of MEF grant applications are due December 1st. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Mr. Aliota.
Mr. Alvarado, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening, board, administration, students, parents, visitors, and taxpayers. Do we have a crisis in leadership and governance? At all levels of government? I believe so. As I have stated many times relative to the responsibility and accountability of school board directors, and in your oath of office, you have a fiduciary duty and are in the public trust not to work in concert with or be involved with the trespass upon guaranteed and protected rights. This includes misrepresentation of facts and falsification of documents. Under the circumstances, Erie County health orders fit the definition of domestic terrorism. Under 18 USC 2331, to intimidate or coerce a civilian population. I requested under the right to know statistics from the Department of Health and the Open Records Officer, Richard Perhax, and I believe he is from the same law firm that Mr. Senate represents Mill Creek. He did not provide the statistics from the public documents, which was and is used to publish the graphs from the Department of Health. Why are these public records not available? There's an article in the Erie Times News 924. The Erie County Department of Health reports 4 deaths from COVID since Monday of last week. If they reported it, why can't the public receive the data sheets minus the names of individuals? Strange, isn't it? Are there any children under 18 years of age dying from COVID-19? I don't think so in Erie County. Why does the death certificate report as a contributing factor in deaths? What are they? What about the treatment of students by teachers and other public officials? Believe me, the parents are documenting each and every incident. 2,300 years ago, people discovered that forcing individuals to cover their nose and mouth broke their will, individuality, and depersonalized them. It made them submissive. That's why they imposed on every woman the mandatory use of fabric over her face. It was repeated in a different manner in Germany. Every female's head was shaved. Can you remember that fact in your world history class in high school? I do. Modern psychology explains it without a face. We don't exist as independent beings. A child looks into the mirror between the ages of 2 and 5 and is discovered as an independent being. The mask is the beginning of deleting individuality. He who does not know his or her history will repeat it, and they will be condemned to repeat it again. Interesting, President Winchell, you were named in an article in this morning's paper. Let me read it. Now Winchell said parents and school district officials are, for the most part, asking the same question: how can we work locally to get control back to the school board? Excellent. Just do your job as elected officials and appointed officials. By the way, here's another one. Melissa Lyon has no authority. I don't know whether you saw this in the Erie Times News. Melissa Lyon has no authority to remove religious exemption. And who spoke to, did I finish the last sentence?
Last sentence.
Okay. And who spoke to her or to Kathy Dahlkemper as unsolicited feedback from school leadership? Thank you for the opportunity to present. To be continued. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, Ms. Sitter? Anyone else in attendance would like to speak? No one online? Okay, let's move on. Let's see here. Item 4, old business, 4.01, Erie County Technical School Project. I don't know if Aaron, I can bring this forward, Aaron, or if you'd like to bring this forward for discussion, after we get the motion to see where we're at today and where we've come over the last few weeks.
I'll make a motion to approve the Erie County Tech
Okay,
resolution that we're looking at.
Second, Janine.
okay, think discussion. So maybe I can just fill everyone in. If you recall, 2 weeks ago at our meeting, we did have a vote at the Erie County Technical School Project, and that resolution failed 5-4 as it stood. Subsequently, we had an additional meeting last week, and good round discussion. We had Joe Tarasovich here, Sam Ring from the JOC, we had Sam Lenz from the construction. We had Chris Coughlin was here, and since then a new resolution tonight, which all the Erie County, all the Erie County school districts are meeting tonight as we speak. Tomorrow, bids expire tomorrow at 2 o'clock. So the resolution, as it is presented this evening, and Aaron, if I miss anything, by all means, jump in, or John, who's been strictly involved. The key ingredient is that the formula, and that the resolution now for this new project is still total project cost is $34,374,940. And as the resolution had stated, or the minutes or the wording of the incorporation, participating school districts share in the cost of capital outlay and building rental. Such school districts shall share costs proportional to the market value of the real estate as released by the State Tax Equalization Board on the preceding June 30th, is deleted from the articles effective July 1, 2024, and replaced with a secondary program district. And contributions formula is set forth in Article 5 of the articles as follows. The Joint Operating Committee shall approve a budget of actual proposed expenditures balanced by identified sources of revenue for the fiscal year commencing July 1 and ending June 30th. The financial level of support from all of the participating districts shall be termed secondary program district contributions. Each participating district share of secondary program district contribution shall be based on the respective district's percentage share of the vocational average daily membership at the Erie County Technical School as of June 30th, average for the 3 most recent school years. And it goes on to say that the formula application determine the secondary program district contribution in the proposed budget. The amount represents the sum total financial support of the budget from all of the participating districts. Multiply the secondary program district contributions by each district's participation share. This will represent each district's gross district contribution to the secondary program district contributions. So I did want to read that out of the resolution, the changes that's happened over the last 2 weeks, and that's why the new resolution this evening. I just asked, I know Tim's been involved with this too, Attorney Senate, if there's any additional things that you'd like to comment. I basically explained to everyone where we got tonight. We had the vote 5-4. We had a meeting tonight, and across all of Erie County, there's school meetings going on for this resolution, and I basically just kind of went through this part here that talked about going from the current market value to the participation.
That was the recommendation of the Joint Operating Committee that was approved by the Joint Operating Committee at their recent board meeting.
So any other, I mean, I just want to kind of set the stage, and I know the board would like to make some comments or discussion at this point. Jason?
I'd just like to say thank you to all the people that worked in the background to make this happen. You know, Sam Ring and Joe Tarasovich and Rick Emmerich, that they kept at it, they kept going. John DePlacido has been working to get this done for a number of years. So this was true leadership and continuing to work up until the 11th hour. Great job.
Anyone else?
I think one thing to understand too is that the monies that are going to be approved for the project, our portion of it is 12 million, plus or minus here, won't be expended the minute we sign the contract. I mean, this is over a 2-year period that this work will be going on up there. So as the work progresses, that's when we're going to owe the money to the contractor. So if anybody's watching, we're not writing a check for $12 million if this goes through today, tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else? Yeah, I think it's important that, and I want to thank all the board members and good discussion, having that extra meeting last week when they all came to discuss. You know, I think, you know, they left the meeting knowing that we're committed to the project. You know, we'll continue to focus on that project, how to eliminate costs. But it was important for us and our stakeholders to realize that going forward, that the future, any type of future project will be based on participation. So I know previous boards changed the operating budget that way. We have the new capital reserve fund set up that way, and now we have the future capital projects this way. And like I said, I know Dr. Roberts is getting some texts as other school districts are passing tonight, but we also have additional meetings tomorrow. In fact, I think one is actually meeting at noon tomorrow. So, and I know that Sam Ring and the rest of JOC is probably actively trying to keep tally on all this too. So,
It's like election night.
What's that?
It's like election night.
It is. I did tell Sam that it's like election night, seeing the results come in, right?
Well, one other thing, I guess I would like to echo what Jason said about everybody digging in and making sure this project happened. This project is so important to the Erie County Tech School, and of course our students and every other student that is part of the Erie County Tech, the 10 other districts. And you know, we could have quit. we could have, you know, we had a vote no, and we didn't quit, and we just kept going. Erie County Tech, the JOC, also kept going, and it was a true getting together type project for something that just could not be ignored. So I'm glad we did it. I'm glad everybody has the opportunity now to make it happen, and hopefully we will, everyone will, by tomorrow. So, thanks.
Yep. I'd just like to say that, right, we're only one district. Of course, it needs to be unanimous. And we know some districts have already voted. And I'll just say that based on this resolution and everyone's cooperation on this board, it would be nice to vote yes for this project this evening. Any other discussion?
Yeah, President Winchell, I will sort of add presumptuously and to some extent with a bit of optimism. As I think about and reflect on the many months of discussions that we've had around this project, and prior to my arrival, certainly years of conversations, I'm reminded of the Greek proverb that tells us that a society grows great when old men and women plant trees in whose shade they shall never sit. On this day and on tomorrow, hopefully with positive votes from other districts, each of the 11 districts, the superintendents, the board of directors, and everyone else involved are certainly planting trees in whose shade thousands of students will not only sit now, but long after we would have vacated our roles and our service to our respective communities. This is a project that certainly is analogous to the planting of trees whose shades will benefit thousands and thousands of students. So I want to thank you all for your continuous deliberation, discussions, and commitment to making decisions that are truly grounded in what is best for those who we serve, our children.
Thank you. Hearing no more discussion, Mr. Can we do a roll call vote on this one, please?
Certainly. Mr. DePlacido,
Yes.
Dr. Lansbury,
Yes.
Mr. Lindner,
Yes.
Ms. McClintock,
Yes.
Mr. Winchell,
Yes.
Mrs. Winchell,
Yes.
Mr. Busco is absent, Ms. Capabianca,
Yes.
and Mr. Dean.
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
Unanimous passage. Thank you all. Thank you. Item 5, Instruction and Student Services. Mrs. Winchell.
Thank you. We have 6 items to vote on this evening. All 6 of these were discussed in detail at the committee meeting on the 13th of September. 5.01 is the Savas Recording Permission Agreement. 5.02, the National Art Honor Society. This is a reinstitution of the Mcdowell chapter of the National Art Honor Society. 5.03 is the Compass Learning Center contract. This approves the, we're asking for approval of this contract with a total cost that does not exceed $28,325. 5.04, the Gertrude Barber Center Service Agreement from 8/30/21 through 6/8/22. This agreement made with the Barber Center is to provide one-to-one aid services at a rate of $175.66, designed to meet the individual needs of a student during his or her school day. 5.05, the Perseus House Letter of Agreement 7/1/21 through 6/30/22. This is a non-financial agreement to partially fulfill licensing requirements of Pennsylvania Department of Public Welfare. 5.06 is the Pennsylvania Youth Survey. Approval is requested for this survey. Results help in understanding the factors that contribute to the leading causes of illness, death, and disability among youth and young adults. The survey will be conducted in schools from September through December of 2021. The survey duration is 1 class period and will be administered to a small number of randomly selected classes by a survey coordinator. In recognition of participation, each school will receive an incentive payment in the amount of $750 after the survey is completed. I'd like to move 5.01 through 5.06 forward in the form of a motion.
Can I have a second, please?
Second, Dean.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against nay? Against nay? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Winchell. Item 6, Personnel Policy Committee, Ms. McClintock.
Thank you, President Winchell. We have 11 items. I'll be bringing them together as a block. 6.01 is Policy 006, Meetings. 6.02, Policy 146.1, Trauma-Informed Approach. 6.03, Policy 218.1, Weapons. 6.04, Policy 246, School Wellness. 6.05, Policy 247, Hazing. 6.06, Policy 249, Bullying, Cyberbullying. 6.07, Policy 252, Dating Violence. 6.08, Policy 805, Emergency Preparedness and Response. 6.09, Policy 805.2, School Security Personnel. And 6.10, Policy 903, Public Participation at Board Meetings. 6.11 is the Personnel Report. There have been no changes since the CAL meeting, so I will bring these forward and make a motion to bring these forward as a block.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Against, nay. Motion passes. Let's go. Item 7, month-end close reports. Mr. O'Toole.
Good evening. 7.01, I would ask for a motion to approve the student activity accounts.
Make a motion.
Second, Gary. Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against, nay. Motion passes.
So the next two reports, 7.02 and 7.03, are informational items, but I would like to point out 7.03 is a new Essers report that was requested by President Winchell as well as the public for us to provide on how we're spending our federal relief money. Joe, can you bring that up so everybody can see it? Not that. That's the presentation that'll be coming next. It's the actual on the agenda. Are you in the agenda? Okay. Well, when you pull it up at your desk, you can see it that it's got a number of different colors. In Essers 1, PCCD 1A and 2, Essers 2, ARP Essers, which is Essers 3. We received some funding from the county as well as GEARS funding sources. So you'll see the number, each are a different color when you're looking at it with the totals page as the second page of the report. And this is how we have spent the $3.8 million to date, which is most of you been through mitigation efforts, technology, curriculum software, or the main virtual teachers for our last school year is how we spent it. It's all clearly delineated in this report. I'd like to keep in mind that our approach to this federal funding has been a student-centered approach where it's the students come first. What can we do to help address learning loss or the social and emotional well-being of our students and staff? Those have been a two-tiered approach first, where you could see all the money is budgeted out, but it's going to be very fluid. Those needs are going to change from now till 2024. So as we do have these earmarked within the report to spend the full just under $17 million allocated to us, we do expect that to be fluid and change year over year, if not month over month. And the biggest case here, if you could, yes, down. So as I was mentioning the different colors here, Essers 3 is the big allocation of $9.4 million. We have about $3.3 million allocated for upgrading HVAC systems, whether that is related to the VOTEC or our anticipated projects that we're currently out to bid right now of MIHS and Walnut Creek. We've already spent Essers 1, the first two PCCD 1 and 2, the two blue ones coming from the left to the right, and we spent a portion of Essers 2 already. But as we've discussed in the past, this is a report showing at a high level what we spent the money on, how we plan to spend it. And again, I'd like to remind everybody that our approach is student-centered, as well as the social and emotional well-being of our students and staff. And the report is going to be very fluid as we continue to move forward over the next 3 years. Any questions with that report?
No, Aaron, I just want to say thank you for that. I know that the public has asked for that. And actually, since we've talked about this coming, many other people have said, boy, I hope our school district does something very similar to see that. And I think that as the public sees this, they'll see the amount of money that's being dedicated to the children as far as technology and mental health and interventionalists and things like that. But just as equally is how much money is being on the safety aspect as far as cleaning and disinfecting and making it a safe environment as well. So thank you for doing this and continue to do this going forward.
Thank you. That was informational. Therefore, we'll move on to 7.04, which is the bond summary report and how much we've spent to date out of that bond money approving of change orders. Could I ask for a motion to approve?
So moved, Gary.
Second, John.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against, nay. Motion passes.
7.05 is the treasurer's summary for June, July, and August. I would ask for a motion to accept these three reports.
Make a motion, Janine.
Second, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. We have a motion, a second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Against, nay. Motion passes.
Okay, so 7.06 are the financial reports of how we ended the year pre-audit of June for this past fiscal year, June 30. Joe, if you could pull up that presentation. I do have a presentation to go through to outline how we ended the current fiscal year. And again, I would like to remind everybody this is pre-audited. I can't foresee anything material changing these numbers from where they are, but I like to footnote that as we're moving forward. As we're working through this presentation, their budget is going to be different from our original budget. Unlike for the last 7 years since I've been here, we did perform a budget amendment of $2.7 million to account for the federal relief money for which we spent in this past fiscal year. And then you have the normal budget transfers that you're processed throughout the course of the year as well. As we start here, we'll focus on our local revenue. Again, a lot of these variances shouldn't come as a surprise as we talk about them on a monthly basis through our financial reports. But if we focus on starting at the top, working our way down, the left-hand side shows the title of what the exact category is of revenue. The right column from that title column is where we ended 1920. Our 2021 budget's the following column with where we ended 2021-22 is the following column, the variance compared to the budget and the percent change. So as we move forward, and that's a typo, it should be 2021, not 21-22, I apologize. But our real estate taxes, we did have a positive variance of $426,000. As you can see on the right-hand side, part of that relates to Hans property that was in there for an increase of our assessed value of $60,000. And as we approach this past budget year, I reduced the collection rate from 97% to 96% in anticipation of a lower collection as a result of COVID. Well, the opposite held true. We actually collected a little bit higher than what we average of 97%. That gives us a positive variance of $426,000. In the interim taxes, we had a positive variance of $152,000. That was primarily Granada transfer taxes. Some of these are hard to foresee from a trending. We do trend at about $80,000 a year. That was one big property that did transfer for this past year. Our PERDA was relatively flat. Payment in lieu of, as I mentioned before, it was a negative variance of $31,000. That's because the Hans properties that help contribute to the positive variance in real estate taxes, it went from being 50% taxable to 100% up in real estate transfer, or up in the real estate taxes. If I scoot down to earned income tax, the EIT line item, this is another line item that performed better than what we anticipated as a result of COVID. We budgeted $7.2 million, thinking that COVID was going to impact the amount of work, the wages earned within Mill Creek. However, it rebounded to the point of almost $7.5 million. That's slightly under last year by about 3%. So COVID didn't impact the wages as much as what we anticipated. Therefore, there was a positive variance of 261,000. Real estate transfer taxes were well beyond trend and or what we budgeted to have a positive of 606,000. Low inventory within Mill Creek, as well as families wanting to move to Mill Creek, contributed to higher sales prices, which in turn means higher taxes off of that. The next line item, the delinquent real estate taxes, we had a positive variance of 395,000. We collected about 96% of our deferred inflows. We have about 40 grand remaining in deferred inflows, which is very low compared to what we historically had. A lot of people paid their delinquent taxes this past year. That's different than trend. That is going to impact our future budgets because there's not as much delinquent to collect in the future years because they were collected this past fiscal year. As you look at earnings on investment, our interest rates didn't fall as much as what we anticipated either, for a positive variance of 100,000. Other local revenue, positive variance of 537. 330,000 of that is a pass-through from the CARES money from Erie County. And then you're looking over at 91,000 in lease payment from MLC when we anticipated to sell the building. We've maintained continuing to lease it, as well as 70K for workers' comp dividend return, as our workers' comp continues to perform well, which will see a positive variance in our expenditures as well that will reflect that. So overall, from our local revenue, we had a positive variance of about 2.4 million or 3.65%, primarily driven from COVID not impacting our local revenue as much as what we anticipated. As we move to state revenue, again, the slides remain the same structure as we move forward, but I'm going to focus on our basic ed Social Security subsidy. It was a negative variance of 112,000. Some of these federal positions that we paid, they federally funded positions we don't receive Social Security reimbursement on. Therefore, it was driving that negative variance. If I jump down to our special ed rich tuition reimbursement for $165,000 positive variance, that was more of a reimbursement than expected because we were reimbursed more for wards of state. Transportation was relatively flat compared to the prior year, with the exception of the non-pub transportation, where we transported less non-pub students compared to prior years. Our rental reimbursement had a negative variance of 33,000. And this is I've been working with the state on this, but this is a good example of your market value personal income aid ratio. Historically, we were reimbursed at 0.5, and our market value personal income aid ratio is 0.46. However, they changed their way that they were processing these applications, and they made it to using your actual market value personal income aid ratio instead of the minimum of 0.5. Therefore, that's driving that negative variance. I am working with the state to figure out why they made that change. I haven't had a response yet. As we move down to our Safe Schools grant, just not as much as we anticipated. Smart Schools, or PA Smart grant, the same. When we look at our total state revenue overall, it was a negative variance from our budget of 123,000 or negative 0.38%. We move on to our federal revenue. Now, this is going to look extremely different because, again, of all the federal relief. First couple of columns are our title money. We have Title I, Title II, and Title IV. Those are all relatively flat. The differences between those is the non-publics that receive a share of those money didn't spend it in the current fiscal year, and they don't need to. They have till September 30th to do so. Historically, they have spent it. And then we recognize revenue by when expenses are incurred, so therefore you're going to have a reduction in your title money. Essers 1, Gear, Essers 2, PCCD. Again, those are all the federal funds that tie back to our federal or our Essers spreadsheet. As you can see here, we didn't have any of those last year. We did this year, and what we will plan for them in the future years as well. We moved to Access. It had a negative variance of 77,000. A lot of that has to do with billing. You need to meet with students to perform physical therapy or occupational therapy, and we didn't have all of those opportunities at last school year. I mean, we did get to that at the end of the year, but as we transitioned to the beginning of the year, and there's other areas, but so it did result in a negative variance of 77,000. And then I'll move to the most material one on the slide here, which is the sale of fixed assets. That was us anticipating selling MLC. We have not done so. Shows a negative variance of 933. So overall, we had a negative variance of 1.2 million, or negative 21.47%. Just to show those numbers, because some people are more visual, and this is just a bar graph here where it shows 1920 or 2021 budget, and I don't know why I continue to use 21-22, but that's actually 2021. We were 1% over budget overall for our revenue. Long story short is COVID did not impact our revenue as we anticipated. We did take advantage of that in this current year's budget, which is one of the reasons why we didn't have to raise taxes to the index. A little bit different, showing this a little bit different and going back a few different years so you can see a trend from 17-18 to 2021. Again, 65% of our total revenue is locally generated. 31% generated from the state, and then 4% from federal or other, which remains rather consistent year over year, as you can see here in the slide. Showing revenue a little bit different. 51% of our total revenue is real estate taxes. I know we talk a lot about this when we're going through the budget, but this is our actual outcomes. Followed by 7% earned income tax, 7% other, 14% is basic ed generated. And between the special ed and the state reimbursable, I mean, you're looking at 17% of our budget is reimbursement based. I mean, you have to spend that money before you can receive it, and it's not 100% reimbursable based. As we just talked about with our PlanCon reimbursement, it's about 46% reimbursable. So as we move here and transition into our expenditures, which is the other side of the equation here, is that this is the salaries. And again, the slides are set up exactly the way that they were from the beginning. And if we look at our administrative line item, it is a $40,000 variance. We did have to have a temporary principal while one was on leave. We moved on to a teacher and LOA. When you're looking at the teachers, we had a positive $681,000 variance, offset by LOAs that were backfilling them for a negative $770,000. And I have the explanations here on the side. For the positive 681 variance is 53 related to sabbaticals, 302 related to retirements or resignations, which is those teachers that retired in the course of the year and they were backfilled by an LOA, or 223,000 related to positions not replaced or backfilled by an LOA, and 94,000 related to leaves, which again, to cover those leaves, most likely were backfilled by an LOA. Therefore, you could see here, when you net the two out, we do have a negative variance of roughly 90 grand. If we move on to extracurriculars, we had a positive variance of 86,000. We didn't have as many extracurricular activities as what we historically do, which generates that positive variance for game management or extracurricular hours. Our secretary and classified, you can see that we had a positive variance of 110,000. We did have a hiring moratorium on a position, so we had one position that was budgeted that was not replaced. It was replaced at the end of the year, but for most of the fiscal year, it did not. And then we do receive a reimbursement back from the Air Force related to our ROTC positions. Secretary classified overtime, this did buck the trend a little bit, where we had a negative variance of 38,000. That majority of that related to the pandemic. Our technical support, which is our maintenance, our IT staff, for the most part, we had a positive variance of 59,000. Again, that was one position that we didn't hire until towards the end of the year, as we were in a hiring moratorium. You can see the overtime had a positive variance for the technical support group as well, of 29,000. We were trying to find additional summer help. Again, as we're struggling to fill positions now, we couldn't find enough summer help either. Custodians, the same exact outcome. We couldn't find, we're struggling to fill positions, which generated a positive variance of 63,000. That is offset by the overtime. Just because we can't fill the position, the work still needs to be done, which is typically covered by existing custodial staff through overtime, which is driving that negative variance. And our educational assistants, we had a positive variance of 173,000. A majority of that relates to just us trying to fill positions, whether it's the timing of the staff, that someone may have retired and we didn't fill the position until 2 months later, or we just struggled to fill positions. There were 2 positions specifically that weren't needed for one-on-one aides because of the virtual environment we were in. But that had a positive variance of 173,000. So our grand total of salaries was a positive variance of 319,000 or 0.72% of our total. If we move on to benefits, most of these, I mean, your PSERs and your FICA are tied to your salaries. So if you have a savings in salaries, you can expect a savings in those 2 line items as well. Our workers' comp, as I mentioned to you before, it was less than what we anticipated through our contract negotiations. That's through a good mod that we've been experiencing year over year. I skipped over a few here. I'm going to go back to tuition reimbursement. That was a negative variance of 81,000. It was more than what we anticipated. I did expect to see with the cap in the contract that would level off. That was not the case. Unemployment, $46,000 negative variance. That primarily relates to COVID. Again, as we're self-funded, if I worked at Macy's and I was laid off at Macy's, how that formula works is Mill Creek's responsible for a portion of it because it's the overall salary. So we did have an impact on unemployment. Healthcare trended in a great direction. We've been that way for 2 years now. We had a positive variance of 281,000, as well as dental and other. So if we move on to the last category here, these are all our other expenses. Our total contracted services would be assessment appeals, legal, ESS, etc. We had a positive variance of 227,000. A lot of that relates to the non-public not spending their money, or ESS, not enough subs. Therefore, it came in under trend. Property services relates to, the negative variance relates to the architect costs for the VOTEC. We go down to transportation, field trips, and travel. We didn't have field trips last year. Transportation, we ran significantly. We have typically run at 90 routes. We ran probably about 70 all year long. And then our travel overall within the virtual environment was less as well. That generated a positive variance of 614,000. That was offset by tuition. Now this is not just cyber, but our outside LEA tuition, and that's both cyber as well as brick and mortar charter school tuition of $943,000 negative variance. Our outside charter increased by 10%. Enrollment, our MTSD virtual increased by 120%. Moving on to supplies and utilities, there's a positive variance of 125,000 or 1.1 million, excuse me. That was less energy consumption. I did recode, PDE asked you to code the diesel fuel related to transportation into the transportation line item. So that kind of offset some of the savings in the transportation line item, as well as prepaids. Equipment, we had a positive variance of 1.4 million. That is material, and that's a one-time savings that, again, we took advantage of in this year's budget. But rather than purchasing all of our equipment outright, we leased it. So instead of paying $1.4 million last year, we'll have roughly a $350,000, $400,000 payment this year for the next 3 years. So as we move on to our total expenditures, we were 3% under budget in total. And again, COVID did impact our expenditures. We could see travel, our tuition, etc. It had a massive impact on our expenditures. Again, the slide here just showing our overall, over the last 4 years, our expenditures by those individual categories here. Again, 71% of our total budget is salaries and benefits. 29% of it makes up all the other outcomes, which is debt, transportation, tuition. So a lot of that we don't control year over year. Showing this in a pie graph just to give you a little bit different look. I mean, 42% of our total budget salaries, 29% is benefits. Half of that 29% is PSERS. Which continues to increase year over year, by the way. So this is called a waterfall graph, and this is just to show where our outcome was. The blue represents revenue. So you can see moving from the left to the right, we have our local revenue of 69.7 million, our state revenue of 32.5 million, 4.6 million for federal and other revenue. Now we're coming back down. Salaries of just under 44 million, 30 million in benefits, other just under 30 million. That means we had a positive surplus of $2.8 million at the end of this fiscal year. Through all this is the net of all the discussion we just had. So what does that make how's our financial position with that additional $2.8 million? As we look at our fund balance for the end of this fiscal year, our unassigned will be about 8.2 million. Now that unassigned is 8% of our total expenditures as required by our board policy. Our non-spendable is 779,000, but that is prepaid. So I can give you a couple examples as like the NWEAP. We got a good price on that for paying all at one time, but that was over 3 years. So we'll expend it over the 3 years. Some of that relates to our debt payment that was due on July 15th that I made probably at the end of June. But those are payments that are already earmarked for the future years. Our capital projects fund, we have about 7.5 million. In the month of October, right after we get our bids back for MIHS and Walnut Creek, we'll come in and we'll present how we would anticipate spending this, as well as the remaining bond funding and whether or not we need to issue additional debt. Then you have our committed fund balance of about just under 1.6 million. That is all the money earned through extracurriculars, which is we keep earmarked to maintaining our extracurricular facilities. And then we have 3.2 million for assigned salaries and benefits, and then our assigned fund balance for IT and VOTEC of 6.4 million. That's where I put the majority of the $2.8 million. I assigned it to pay for VOTEC. So out of that $6.3 million, we have a grand total of $3.3 million set aside to pay for the VOTEC project. And that is the last slide. Any questions? That was a lot of information in a short amount of time.
Any questions?
There's 1,000 questions. Don't know where to start. Other than it's good. I mean, I think the COVID thing and the lack of effect, mostly some effect, but not as much as I thought it would be.
Our revenue truly held strong through COVID. It didn't impact earned income tax and real estate taxes, which are our two biggest revenue drivers. It had minimal impact.
And it's clear that while there was minimal impact on our finances and revenue, because we were not able to necessarily involve or engage in activities we would normally engage in. On the flip side, if you may, we see that we have to reinvest a lot of that to mitigate student learning loss and address accelerating student academic achievement. So those are some of the areas that we are going to touch. So yeah, the presentation, as always, Aaron, was very thorough and clear.
Any questions? Thank you, Aaron.
No questions. I would ask for approval of 7.06 of the financial report.
You have a motion for 7.06.
Motion, Dean.
Second, Janine.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against, nay. Motion passes, Mr. O'Toole. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to Finance and Operations Committee. Mr. Linder.
Okay. We have 11 items this evening that I would like to bring as a singular block. We discussed these thoroughly at our committee of the whole meeting on the 13th. So I'm going to go through those. And 8.01 is the resolution to eliminate real estate tax penalties. This drops the penalty to 0% for late payments in the months of November and December. 8.02 is the second step, SELL for adults. This is a 5-year contract for all of the Mill Creek sites for our faculty and team to help them with their coping through this process. And that is a contract for $62,775. And this is part of the Essers funds that Mr. O'Toole showed how we are spending funding. 8.03 is a Title I service agreement between the Erie City School District for 2020-2021. This is the final allocation of costs. This was originally agreed to last year. This is just the finalization of those costs associated with that. 8.04 is a preliminary Title I service agreement between Fort LaBeouf School District and Mill Creek. And this is for 4 students, Mill Creek Township students for the 21-22 school year. 8.05 is a preliminary Title I service agreement, again with the Erie City School District for 21-22. And this is for 7 Mill Creek Township school students. 8.06 is the accounts payable report for August 27th. Lost my date, hold on. And September 10th, it also has the accounts payable for the month of September. 8.07 is the Mill Creek Township School District's student activity officer account officers, and this is the updated for the month of September. 8.08 Mill Creek Education Foundation grant awards. This is, as Chris Huber was saying, they're doing a lot of great work with the school district, and this is a list of the grants that they funded for this coming year. They funded $7,170 in grants for the August cycle, and there was $2,000 for free enterprise club startup at Mcdowell, $970 for math stackers at Grandview, $850 for yearbook at MIHS, $1,500 for action-based learning, professional development at Bell Valley, $750 for the SOAR program at Grandview, and $1,100 for the marching band at McDowell. 8.09 is the HRLC Architects Agreement, and this is a study for the baseball and softball field. This is primarily an agreement for $19,850, and it is looking at 4 specific options. Construction of a baseball and softball complex at Hanlon, construction of a baseball field at the MLC Center and softball at Hanlon, construction of a baseball field at Walnut Creek and softball at Hanlon, and option 4 is construction of a multi-purpose field at Walnut Creek for both softball and baseball. 8.10 is an HF Lens company agreement, and this is for McDowell High School renovation engineering services. It also includes a feasibility study for reconfiguration of the auditorium area, the reconfiguration and reimagination of the library area, reconfiguration of the home ec area, and reconfiguration of the wood shop area. It also includes 12,000 square foot renovation at McDowell or MHS for home ec, job development, and wood shop. 8.11 is an HF Lens company agreement for a feasibility study of the Gus Anderson field, and this is to paint a vision for what the field could be in the future and to help our Boosters Club with fundraising. I'd like to ask to bring 8.01, 8.11 forward to the board. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion. John.
Second, Gary. So we have a motion, we have a second. Discussion. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against, nay. Motion passes. Thank you, Aaron. Item 9, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Roberts.
Thank you, President Winchell. There are two items under the superintendent's report this evening. The first item, item number 9.01, it's a website update presentation by our communications coordinator, Katie McCaglia. As a core team and district, we remain committed to really meeting every need of every stakeholder every single day. And one such need, you've heard this over and over again, is that it's receiving continuous attention from us, and it's really based on the existing analytics and how we are really impacting and improving our communication with stakeholder groups. One of the superintendent's goals from the school year 2021 was goal 4, and that is to establish effective and consistent communication structures and those protocols that will improve our internal and external stakeholders with all of our community stakeholders. And so with that said, we have identified that our website and how we are engaging with all of those stakeholders needed a review under the guidance and leadership of Katie. So Katie will share with you a preview of our soon-to-be brand new website this evening. Katie?
Thank you, Dr. Roberts. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yes.
Fantastic. So thank you again for providing me the opportunity to share the progress of this new and improved MTSD website. As Dr. Roberts had shared, in alignment with the superintendent's goals to improve the communication with all stakeholder groups, as well as meet the goal of the school board to continue to provide transparent communications, the communications department's been developing a new website for not only the district, but all of the schools within the district over the last few weeks. Really, the goal here is to not only create an aesthetically pleasing, branded central hub of information, but to also improve the overall functionality for all users across every device. I'm going to try and do a screen share here. So let's see here. Perfect. Can everyone see my screen okay?
Mhm.
Fantastic. So what you're looking at here is the homepage of the district site. And I should also state that our team is targeting the launch of phase 1 of the site the week of October 11th, and then looking to launch the remainder of the site early November. All the elements that you're going to see this evening will all be part of that initial phase 1 launch. So here on the district homepage, you can see we have a quick links section available here for our folks to quickly get to the key pages within the site that our Google Analytics have shown to be the highest trafficked portions of the site. Our district calendar, technology resources for parents, the school board meeting agendas, parent resources, and also our district news. Additionally, we'll have a link here to our password protected staff portal, which I'll give you a peek at, our calendar, our COVID dashboard as well, the ability to access each of our schools' websites quickly from the top header, as well as then the ability to navigate the remainder of the site through an easy to function main navigation piece. So what I'll start with here is just give you a quick peek here of our district news page. Again, to align with the importance of functionality and user friendliness of the site, our district news page will have the ability to be keyword searched as well as within a date range. So if any individuals are looking for anything specific, they will be able to see that right within there. Let's see if I can make this a little larger for everyone. All right. And then you'll see each of our district news pieces scrolling through here. Additionally, to help with functionality, our navigation will remain right here on the left-hand side, so folks can easily and quickly get to the additional pages that they are looking to get to. One of the most exciting features that I'm hopeful that our parents, our staff members, and all of our stakeholder groups will enjoy is the new and improved interactive calendar piece. Keep in mind, I don't have all of the school calendars loaded in quite yet, but what we're able to do here is you'll see a month view of the calendar. And as you can see, there's a few different logos. There's a Asbury logo popping in here. How that happens is to use the calendar, parents are able to select which calendars they would like to see. So that way, if, for example, I have a child who attends Asbury Elementary, Mcdowell High School, and I'm interested in finding out when the next school board meeting is, I can select each of those 3 calendars, update my calendar, and when I come back, I'll be able to see all of those events specific to those schools only. Definitely an improvement from where we are currently at with our calendar piece. And as mentioned, the calendar was certainly something that was very high traffic on the website, as well as the top searched keyword historically over the last 2 years. Additionally, as we look at important resources for our parents, one of our largest stakeholder groups, what we've created is the Parents Hub, essentially. And on this Parent Hub page, parents will be able to go to one main page whereby they can access the most important information that they need at that time. Attendance, lunch menus, school newsletters, and any help that they need for technology. Additionally, within our hub, we still have our calendar functionality, just kind of minimized a little bit for them, as well as the ability for parents to quickly and easily get their contact information for any of the school buildings, all within that same page. And as always, importance of bringing our district news into a friendly piece for them on that main page too. Another component that is certainly an upgrade and new functionality for our parents is the ability to search for a teacher or a staff member. This ties directly into our current database system that tracks all of our students, parents, staff. And what we'll do here is folks can come in, search by keyword, first name, last name, and by school location to identify if they're looking for contact information for their teacher or staff member at their child's building. There's a lot of capabilities within this functionality of the website that we will be looking to expand throughout the course of the year, such as including links to Google Classrooms for teachers, such as including the photos. We are still working on that element. Certainly want to show all of our smiling faces of our very dedicated teachers and staff here, but certainly the opportunity to search through here. Before I navigate over to one of our schools pages, I will also show you to the school board meeting page. Oops, I apologize, bear with me. So we have our school board meeting page here, which details out who all of our current members are, but a new feature that we've added in is under our agendas, minutes, and reports page. Here, folks will be able to quickly get to board docs to access agendas, meeting minutes, and any additional information posted there. We'll also have the most recent school board meeting posted in YouTube form within the page. Instructions on how to sign up to speak at a school board meeting, both virtually and in person, as well as the school board meeting schedule. So I would imagine this page will continue to receive the high amount of traffic that our last site saw, but certainly we'll be pushing to increase those numbers as folks start to realize the value of some of the content that is available here for them. Next, I'll just take you quickly over to the Mcdowell High School page so you're able to see that. All of the school pages will be built very similarly to what you are seeing here, with the importance of really putting our students first and putting the great work that's being done behind the scenes front and center for everyone to see, to really show off our brand story and the work that's being done. As we scroll through our school main homepage, you'll see we have panels that are dedicated to really those key building goals, as well as the superintendent goals for the district. Career readiness, advanced placement, the present, accountable, and respectful program, which is part of their positive behavior support programs. Meal menus, of course, and also a snapshot of the school in terms of enrollment, advanced placement exams given, their school calendar, their news, and again, quick features for them here with those news pieces. Important to note, when we look at these news pieces here, we have built-in functionality that allows the news page to pop up right there on screen and keep the user right on the home page to allow them opportunity to read multiple articles at once and increase their time on site. The last thing I will show you is a quick peek at now, and hopefully this drags over. Please tell me if it doesn't. Can everyone see that? Good to go? Cool. All right. So what I wanted to show you here is the importance of our mobile page. So certainly with 52% of our traffic coming to our site from a mobile device, it's critical to ensure that the site also looks, feels, and functions just as well as it would on a desktop device. So what I've pulled in here is an example of the parent page from a mobile phone, just to show the ability and the ease of use that a parent could have from within the palm of their hand if they aren't necessarily at their desk. Same would go for their calendar page as well, still being able to view the calendar very clear, dates associated, functionality from within here, still having the ability to filter as needed. And as always, the home page in a mobile device will continue to highlight and feature our students and staff and the great work that's being done here. Oh, I lied, one more thing. You'll notice on the bottom, it says English down here. This is the beginning steps of the translator to ensure that the site is fully compatible with our English second language learners. So there will be opportunity at the bottom of the screen on both mobile and desktop devices for individuals to select the language they would prefer. Right now, I only have the 2 that have currently been built in there, and I believe last I knew there was about 17 different languages at one of our schools. So we are certainly working to accommodate all of our stakeholder groups in that way. I am now going to stop sharing my screen, but I can certainly answer any questions or address any concerns anyone might have or open to recommendations too.
Katie, I have a question. Have we given any thought, or do we have anything in the works for like some kind of an app that parents can use through the phone?
Sure. So certainly developing an app for the school district has been, and all of the school sites was part of the conversation we had when we were evaluating our website provider and what we were looking to do. As we move forward with the communication plan, we felt it best to move forward with a mobile first website approach, whereby families are able to access all of the information they need on their mobile device directly through the website, outside of having to utilize an additional app per se. That certainly might be part of our strategy as we move forward, but for the upcoming year, I would say right now our goal is really to improve that mobile experience on the web-based website before we move into downloading of an app per se.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
That looks really good. Thanks, Katie, for the update.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very nice.
That looks like it has some incredible functionality. That is oh, can't wait.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Mitchell. Certainly one of the goals, and particularly as a district that is committed to grounding 100% of its decisions in data, the analytics that Katie alluded to will certainly continue to drive what adjustments we make with regards to our communication plan on the website. Second item under the superintendent's report is item number 9.02. This is a comprehensive plan, and this is an informational item. And just to share with the board and members of our community that the Future Ready District's comprehensive plan really outlines our strategic approach to continuous improvement of leadership, teaching and learning, and other areas of daily operation that are critically important to ensuring that we attain our mission of providing a world-class education that prepares students for college, career, and life. We want to bring this to you because we are expecting that members of the board as well as community members will engage in a review of this plan. Upon review, the plan that you will see is actually a new model that provides flexibility in the planning process from the PDE based on the individual needs of the Mill Creek community, as well as it's grounded in an outcomes-based approach that is truly just focused on student achievement. The core concepts that you'll find in the plan are based on a simplistic logic model, and one that really Mill Creek Township School District can effectively utilize as we develop both long-term goals, mid-range goals, and certainly short-term goals and action plans It allows us to progress monitor. That is critical. I know members of the board have continuously pushed us to highlight what are our progress monitor mechanisms, and certainly provides transparency in terms of communication, school personnel, parents, community members, and so forth. The comprehensive plan is expected to be renewed and updated every 3 years and submitted to the Secretary of Education for approval. For information this evening, what I'm asking is that first of all, sharing with you that a comprehensive plan will be posted to our website for review from members of the community for the next 28 days. And we are encouraging our community to review the plan and the strategic priorities that the core team have provided, and to give us feedback. After you would have done so, the plan will be submitted to the Pennsylvania Department of Education and the Secretary by November 30th, 2021. I think we are well on our way to having a plan finalized, but we will certainly not do so without having the input from members of the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
President Mitchell, that ends the superintendent's report for this evening.
Okay, thank you. Item 10, new business. 10.01, new business. Any new business? Okay, moving on to 11, Solicitors Report. Attorney Senate.
Thank you. Under my report, there is a stipulation to settle and discontinue an assessment appeal. This is a tax assessment appeal in regard to the property owned by Erie Real Estate Investments MG LLC. MG stands for Mills Glen, which is the Mills Glen Apartments found at 1711 Quince Road. This property was sold for $4.15 million in 2019. The school district filed an appeal after the sale of that property because the value as assessed was only $1,997,000. It has gone through the Erie County Board of Assessment process and was heading toward trial. And the best evidence in a trial in regard to an assessment appeal is appraisers' reports. And each party tends to get an appraiser's report. In this case, the highest appraiser's report actually happened to be the property owner's report. And therefore, their appraisal was $3,555,000. School district's appraisal report was actually lower than that. So as you go into trial, obviously, we don't have any obligation to put our appraisal's report on the record. So we would gladly go with a higher appraisal report of the property owner. So in this case, then, in light of that fact, there was a settlement proposed. And as you can see in page 2, the fair market value of both 2020 and 2021 ended up with a settlement of $3,610,000, and you can see the assessed value there. So at this time, we reviewed the settlement with Mr. O'Toole, and at this time, we're recommending the stipulation to settle and discontinue this tax assessment appeal, which will result in additional taxes to the school district over time.
Need a motion on this?
Yes, please.
Okay, can I have a motion to accept the 11.01 Mill Glen settlement?
Make a motion.
Dean.
Second, Janine.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. We had a motion, second discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against, nay. Motion passes. Thank you.
That's
Anything
all I
else?
have. No, that's all for tonight.
Thank you. 12, remarks. 12.01 Northwest Tri-County Intermediate Unit. Take that minutes as well as the executive director's comments are attached there for your perusal. I'd just like to mention a couple of things. We had the board meeting last week, and some things out of the state. Starts his comment by saying this is going to be an interesting fall, one that will be rather political and divisive, and its core are the mask order, elections, redistricting. Some school issues will be wrapped up in that. Vaccinations also continue to be a hot issue. To a potential diversity in education workforce bill, the first part of this bill speaks to dual enrollment programs requiring every school district to have at least one such agreement. There's bipartisan support for this bill. We are concerned about making that mandatory because it doesn't require higher education to cooperate. There are also recording requirements, and we're not sure if that is necessary. We're concerned for the rural districts who may not have higher education access, and this could involve cost. House Bill 1894, opening of schools after Labor Day holiday. This legislation would require school districts to begin the academic year no earlier than the day after Labor. A waiver to this rule may be granted by the Secretary of Education if extenuating circumstances exist. So there's discussion around that. Federal level, details of President Biden's vaccine plan and educational implications. There's kind of two parts of this. The first one is, here's what we know so far about President Biden's vaccine plan. Impacts states districts directly. While it does not apply broadly to all schools, the Biden administration will issue a rule through the Department of Labor that will apply to the 26 states with OSHA plans. Teachers in these states will have to be vaccinated or submit to weekly testing. However, concerning President Biden's order concerning mandatory employee vaccination for 26 states, Pennsylvania is not one of the OSHA states that falls under the requirement. So the federal order about mandatory vaccinations for employees does not apply here. That would have to come from the state. So a couple updates, more details are on the attachment to the agenda. And so with that, I'll move on to 12.02, John.
Yes.
Erie County Technical School report.
We've had two meetings up there since our last meeting. And I don't know if I mentioned, but we have two new major hires up there. Jessica Garnica was introduced as the new business manager, and Julie Aiken was introduced as the new principal. This was back in August. If you've been up that way, you see that the roundabout work is continuing to go, and they should be completed there next fall, and hopefully clear up that area a little bit. There were a lot, as you can imagine, a lot of discussion on the project, which a lot of the things that were mentioned at that meeting have been overridden by the next meeting, which I'll talk about. In September, our meeting, we had actually two separate meetings. One was for the Erie County Tech School Foundation, which we have a foundation meeting every 3 months. And a lot of different things happened there. A lot of things were discussed. The meeting minutes, business reports were all reviewed. And there was one issue, a $10,000 grant award from the Scott Electric Company was used in the upgraded equipment in the engineering course. So that was a good thing. Moving on to the actual JOC meeting, we had two students, Gabriella Clement of the computer programming course and Marissa Burchard of the health assistant course were recognized as exemplary students for this year. So that was a great thing. We had a dinner actually in front of the meeting with the parents and the students, and had a chance to talk to them, which is very nice. As we know, the revised renovation project resolution, which we approved this evening, was voted on by the JOC to present to the individual districts for approval. And again, the contract bid is extended or cannot go beyond tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock. So we have a couple different districts actually having a meeting tomorrow, the majority of them tonight. Also, the JOC was approved use of some of the ESSER funds that the JOC will get as part of the ESSER funds toward the HVAC upgrade, which is directly connected to the project. So there'll be some money inputted into the project from these funds. And also, they had the results of a parent survey discussed, which showed a high acceptance of how the tech school is being run, and that the students are getting the curriculum delivered efficiently. And that was good news. Their audit is starting this month, and the COVID information was shared, no major information, and we had an executive session on a couple items. So that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Placido. 12.03 is the Mill Creek Education Foundation report. Mr. Busco is not here, and Ms. Huber gave us a nice update as she does every month. So we appreciate those comments from the Mill Creek Education Foundation. Moving on to 12.04, PSBA, Mr. Dean, Jason.
Thank you, President Winchell. We have 2 seminars coming up with PSBA, online seminars that might be of interest to the board. October 6th, we have Innovative Online Learning at School Districts. Kind of gives you an overview of what some of the school districts are doing and what PSBA is doing to kind of assist that. And then October 13th, Keeping Board Meetings Effective. And it specifically talks about the contentious nature of board meetings over the last few months with people not wanting, certain things to happen. So 2 seminars that are upcoming. And then early October, we meet with Jim Somerville in order to create an action plan based on our board self-assessment.
Right, October 7th. Correct, thank you. Anything else, Jason?
That's it.
Thank you, thank you. 12.05, school board remarks. Any school board remarks? Right, turn it over to Dr. Roberts. Anyone from the board? Again, I'd just like to say thank you for all the hard work that, John, you've put up at VOTEC. I know there's been many, many hours, many meetings. Thank you for the individuals that came last week. We mentioned before, Joe Tarasovich, Sam Ring, people from Lentz, Chris Coughlin, and, the shaping this. So like I said, it was nice to vote yes on the resolution and keep all the stakeholders at heart, not only the students, but also the residents of Mill Creek going forward.
I think in the end, there, as we all know, it was a little contentious, but I think in the end, everybody realized that we need to be student-centered, we need to be student-focused. This is what we needed to do. And hopefully by tomorrow at 2 o'clock, we'll have all the votes in to accept the contract. So
Thank you.
it was good work by everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Any other school board remarks? Okay, bring us home, Dr. Roberts.
Certainly want to echo the gratitude to Mr. De Placido. Thank you for your leadership during this time. And publicly, I want to express gratitude to my superintendent colleagues and their respective board, as well as I shared earlier. This work is important for the students we serve. Board and committee members, as you review the comprehensive plan that will be posted online, certainly want to encourage you to push our thinking and challenge the mental models of the core team. We're sitting in this unique space whereby there's a silver lining that COVID has offered us, right? COVID has really disrupted the way we've done the business of education for over the last 50 years. So it is my hope that we have some innovative and creative and even cage-busting sort of ideas around what should we prioritize and include in our comprehensive plan. We should not continue to do the business of education in the same way. The members of the core team and the administrative council are spending an inordinate amount of time in our schools and classrooms, more so this year than in previous years, because we want to make sure that we are committed where we need to be every single day, where the most important work is taking place. While some may argue that because of the different roles in which we serve and the positions that we hold, all of us are not in the same proverbial boat, I would say that we are certainly in the same storm, this storm of a second year of COVID-19, and in this cloudy forecast of a global pandemic. We are all in this together. In spite of this cloudy forecast, as I shared with the entire district during my beginning of the year address, we can and will get out into clearer skies rather soon. And the clearer skies being to provide a real environment for our students to receive a quality education. School leaders, administrative council members, teachers, and staff, I want to preview for you, especially teachers, that the core team will plan a fall town hall to hear from each of you directly. Yes, we have a couple of town halls coming up for parents and community members, but I'm going to continue to work with a core team member and our communications coordinator for us to have a town hall for our teachers and staff, because while we have the MEA and we have a really strong professional relationship with the MEA, teachers, we want to hear from you directly. Staff, we want to hear your voices. And this is not just going to be a sit and listen conversation, but we want to make sure that whatever we are hearing from you, that the gathering is one whereby your suggestions and requests will be the anchors of decisions that we make moving forward to make sure that we have a really strong year. The core team and I are continuously reviewing the state of the district, and teachers and staff, as well as our school leaders. You have demonstrated that you are performing at such a high level day in and day out. I want to make sure that yours truly and our board continues to support you the way that we have, so that you can sustain the level of performance you currently have. There's no doubt in my mind that your dedication to our students, your commitment to ensure that they are the beneficiaries of a truly world-class educational system, and your propensity to truly exhibit every single day this unselfish tendency to make sure that you're making decisions that is best for them is admirable. School leaders, teachers, and staff, we see you, we truly hear you, and we will continue to support you. I want to encourage our parents and community members to sign up for our upcoming town halls later on in October, and we're looking forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, Dr. Roberts. Any other remarks? Okay, move on to item 13, adjournment. We'd like to remind everyone that this meeting was streamed live on YouTube, and this meeting was recorded for future viewing purposes. You can also view this meeting's agenda as well as past meeting minutes, in addition to several informational items on our website, www.mtsd.org. Finally, please visit us and like us on our Facebook page, Mill Creek Township School District. With that, I'd like to ask for a motion for adjournment.
Motion, Rick.
Okay,
Second.
Second, thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Against, nay. Motion passes, we're adjourned.